Mom, Grandma says I'm not allowed to tell you where I am. She says you lost the vote. That's the voicemail my 9-year-old left me at 2:17 a.m. Not a good night. Not a I miss you. A vote. About my child. I was still on the couch in my hoodie, laptop open, eyes gritty from a release day disaster at my software job. I'd promised Mila we'd do her science project tonight. Instead, I hit replay and listened to her voice shake. Mom, Grandma says I'm not allowed to tell you where I am. Like she was hiding. Like she was being watched. Then my mother's voice slid in soft, warm, weaponized. Tell her you're okay, baby. Tell her it's for the best. I sprinted down the hall and threw Mila's bedroom door open. Her room didn't look tidy. It looked erased. Her bed was stripped, her pink comforter gone, the unicorn nightlight unplugged, her jar of worry stones missing, her favorite glitter hoodie gone from the chair. And on her desk, centered like an award, sat a manila envelope with my name in my sister's perfect handwriting, Raina. Not a sticky note, not a text, paper. Laughter floated from the kitchen, Cassie's laugh bright and careless. I followed it and found my mom whisking pancake batter like it was Sunday brunch and not this. My dad stood behind her, arms crossed, watching me like I'd done something wrong. Cassie leaned against the fridge with her phone held up at a flattering angle, filming. A ring light box was propped by the pantry, already opened, like Christmas morning for her. My voice came out thin. Where's Mila? My mom didn't turn. Honey, eat something. You look awful. I slammed my palm on the counter. Where is my daughter? Cassie rolled her eyes. Relax. She's fine. Fine where? My mom finally faced me, wiping her hands like she was in a commercial. Her smile was tight. We made a family decision. I stared at her. You made a decision about my kid. My dad's tone was low and disappointed. You're never home, Raina. You think that's normal? Normal. I was working myself sick to keep things afloat, including the house I'd put in my name when my parents begged me to save the family. 2 years ago, they sat me down at this same table and called it an opportunity. They needed my credit to refinance. They needed my income to stop foreclosure, and in exchange they promised childcare and stability. I told myself it was temporary. I told myself they loved Mila enough to keep her safe. Cassie's mouth curled. You can't keep dragging her through your chaos. So we stepped in. My heart hammered. Where is she? My mom said it like a weather report. With her father. The room tilted. Evan? I heard myself say. Evan Cole. A ghost with a driver's license. He missed birthdays, missed school plays, missed basically everything. My mom nodded. He has rights. I forced air into my lungs. He doesn't have custody. My dad's jaw flexed. Not yet. That word yet lit up in my head like a siren. Cassie slid the manila envelope toward me and tapped it. Open it, she said. Since you love paperwork. Inside was a printed form. Temporary guardianship consent. My name typed at the bottom. Not signed. On top, a sticky note in Cassie's handwriting. Just sign and stop making this hard. My mouth went dry. You prepared this. Cassie's eyes flicked to my hands. It's just in case, she said. So we don't have to deal with your mood swings when you finally admit you can't do this. My mom's voice dropped into that I'm protecting you tone. We didn't forge anything. We were preparing. Because you're exhausted. You're unstable. Look at you. Unstable. Because I worked. Because I didn't have a husband to split bedtime and bills. I swallowed, tasting metal. Bring her back. Now. My mom's smile stayed glued on. We already did the exchange. Exchange? The word came out cracked. Cassie lowered her phone for the first time. Grandma drove her. Her dad met them at the park. Quick and clean. No drama. No drama. Like they were trading a leash. I stared past them to the hallway. Mila's backpack hook was empty. Her shoes weren't by the door. And taped to her bedroom doorframe, fresh blue painter's tape was one word written in thick marker. Studio. Cassie shrugged. I need the space. It's not like a kid needs a whole room. My mom nodded like that made sense. And it's quieter. Better for everyone. My daughter wasn't even gone for a day, and they were already reassigning her life. Something in me settled, sharp and clean. I looked at all three of them and said the sentence that drained the color from their faces. I'm calling the police, and the bank, and a lawyer because this is my house, and you just committed a felony in it. My dad scoffed, thin. Don't be dramatic. My child left me a voicemail like she was hiding, I said. That's danger. My mom followed me into the hallway, still holding the dish towel like a flag of innocence. Raina, she said, softer. This is for Mila's own good. She needs a routine. She needs adults who aren't always gone. Gone? I snapped. I'm gone because I'm paying for your roof. My dad's voice chased me. Watch your mouth. Cassie called after me, half laughing, half panicking. If you make this public, you'll embarrass everyone. Embarrass. That's what they were worried about. Not my daughter's fear. Not her safety. Their image. I felt my vision narrow, the way it does right before a migraine. I forced myself to breathe, then went to the bathroom and stared at my face in the mirror, tired, blotchy, the look of a woman who's been trained to stay polite while being cornered. Then I walked to my room, grabbed the folder I kept, buried deed, loan papers, everything they'd called just forms, and I left. In the car, hands shaking on the wheel, I called Evan, straight to voicemail. So I drove to the last address I had for him, pulse loud in my ears, because whatever my family was doing, Mila wasn't the only thing they'd delivered. Subscribe so you don't miss part 2. I parked crooked, didn't care, and pounded on Evan's door until my knuckles burned. Nothing. I called his phone again. Voicemail. I pressed my ear to the door and heard a TV laugh track. And faintly, too faint, my daughter's voice. I couldn't make out words, just the sound of her. Mila? I called, trying to keep my voice steady like she was just in the next room. The laugh track got louder. Then, silence. I walked around to the backyard. The gate was unlatched. A sliding door was half open, screen door closed. I cupped my hands to the glass. Mila, it's me! Her face popped into view so fast my heart stopped. But she didn't smile. She looked careful, not like a kid surprised to see her mom, like a kid checking rules. Her eyes flicked past me, toward the house, and she shook her head once tiny, almost invisible. Then a shadow crossed behind her and she vanished. I heard Evan's muffled voice. Who's out there? Then a woman's voice, sharp, unfamiliar. Ignore it. She'll leave. A woman. My stomach turned. Evan always said he hated commitment, like it was a personality trait. Now there was a woman inside his house talking like she owned the place. I backed away, hands shaking, and called 911. My daughter has been taken without my consent, I said, the second the operator answered. Her father doesn't have custody. The operator asked names, age, address. I answered fast, like speed could make this less real. Then she said, Ma'am, I'm seeing a temporary guardianship filing. My mouth went numb. I didn't sign anything. We can send officers for a welfare check, she said, but custody matters are civil unless— This isn't a dispute, I snapped. My mother took my child behind my back and delivered her. She left me a voicemail saying she wasn't allowed to tell me where she was. There was a pause. Stay where you are. Officers are en route. A patrol car arrived within minutes. Officer Diaz stepped out young, tired-looking, but focused. He glanced at my bare hands like he was checking for a weapon, then met my eyes. You the caller? Yes, I said, and my voice cracked anyway. She's inside. I saw her. Diaz nodded once and walked up. He knocked. Loud. Official. The kind of knock that says you can't pretend you're not home. Evan opened the door in sweatpants, hair messy, acting like he'd been interrupted mid-nap. Behind him stood a woman with a perfect blowout and a gold cross necklace, arms folded like she'd been waiting for this moment. Evan's eyes flicked to me. Raina. Where's Mila? I said. Diaz stepped into the gap. Sir, we need to see the child. The woman held up a folder like a shield. We have papers. Diaz glanced at me. Ma'am, do you have documentation? I didn't consent, I said, lifting my phone. I have her voicemail. She sounded scared. Diaz's expression tightened. I still need to see her. After a long beat, Mila appeared in the hallway, shoulders hunched, clutching a stuffed cat I'd never seen before. Her eyes went straight to mine. She didn't run. She didn't even lift a hand. She just stood there like she was waiting to see what the adults allowed. Mila, baby, I whispered. Are you okay? Her lip trembled. The woman's hand landed on Mila's shoulder, possessive, nails perfectly done. She's overwhelmed, she said. Don't upset her. Upset her. Like my presence was the problem. Diaz crouched to Mila's level. Hi, Mila. I'm Officer Diaz. Do you feel safe here? Mila's eyes flicked to the woman, then to Evan, then back to me. I guess, she whispered. It felt like someone grabbed my ribs and squeezed. Diaz stood. Ma'am, I can't remove her without a court order unless there's immediate danger. Evan. She's being coached, I said. The wife's smile sharpened. Nobody is coaching her. We're providing structure. Who are you? I said. I'm his wife, she answered, like it should end the conversation. Wife. Evan didn't correct her. The wife tilted her chin. We're building a stable home. Something you can't provide. I turned to Mila, keeping my voice soft because she was shaking. Baby, what did Grandma tell you last night? Mila swallowed, eyes wet but refusing to spill. She said, You were tired of me. My stomach dropped through the porch. I forced my voice steady. Did she say you were being sent here because I didn't want you? Mila nodded once, tiny. She said you chose work. She said you voted. Diaz shifted. Ma'am, you need to file in family court. I will, I said, and kept my eyes on the wife. And the court is going to hear that you helped tell a child her mother didn't want her. The wife's mouth tightened. She's better off here. My phone buzzed in my pocket, a sharp vibration like a warning. Bank notification. Autodraft. $3,214.67 mortgage payment processed. Wrong amount. Too high. I opened the app, scrolling with shaking fingers. A second payment sat there, dated this morning, under my name. A new loan I didn't recognize. A line item labeled HELOC payment. My blood went cold. I looked up at Evan. Did you open a loan against my house? Evan blinked like he didn't understand English. What? The wife's eyes snapped to my screen and then away too fast. That has nothing to do with this. Now I understood why my parents were so calm with their pancakes. This was leverage. I walked back to my car shaking, and as I started the engine, my phone lit up with a text from my mother. Don't fight this. He's a good man now. Sign the form, and we can all move on. Move on, like my daughter's fear was a speed bump. If you're still with me, hit like and subscribe because in part 3, I pull my credit report and find the real reason my mother delivered Mila to Evan. I didn't go back to my parents' house after Evan's porch. Not yet. If I walked into that kitchen again, I'd either scream or collapse, and neither one would get Mila out of that hallway with the stuffed cat. So I did what Tech had trained me to do. Find the logs. I sat in my car under the blue-white glow of my office parking garage, opened my laptop, and pulled my credit report like it was a production incident. My hands shook so hard I missed the CAPTCHA twice. The report loaded, and my stomach flipped. Home equity line of credit opened 6 weeks ago. Limit: $48,000. Balance: $46,700. Against my house. My throat went tight. That house wasn't just a house. It was the thing I'd signed into my name to save the family, the thing my parents insisted was just paperwork, the thing they still called our home, even though they hadn't made a full payment in years. I clicked the account details. The mailing address on file wasn't my apartment. It wasn't my work address. It was my parents' address. I felt cold all the way down. I called my mother and put her on speaker so I couldn't pretend I misheard her. She answered too fast, too cheerful. Honey, are you feeling better? Did you calm down? Did you open a loan in my name? I said. A pause, long enough to tell the truth. Then she sighed, like I'd made her do extra chores. We needed it. My fingers clenched around the steering wheel. You needed $46,000. It was for the house, she rushed. Repairs, bills, stability. Stability, I repeated, watching my own reflection in the windshield. So you stole my credit, and when I panicked, you took my daughter. My mom's voice sharpened. Don't twist it. You were drowning. Mila was suffering. Mila was suffering because you told her I didn't want her. I never said that. She snapped instantly. Too fast. I swallowed, tasting anger. Who notarized it? Another pause. Smaller this time. Then, your father knows people. Of course he did. My dad had spent decades collecting favors like coupons. He knew who could stamp something and ask no questions. He knew who owed him a favor from the old days. He knew how to make a document look clean. I hung up before she could say another word that would make me hate her more. Then I called the bank. When I said fraud, the rep sounded bored. When I said minor child, her tone changed. When I said identity theft by immediate family, she transferred me to a supervisor and told me to come in first thing in the morning with ID and proof of ownership. I didn't sleep that night. Mila curled into me in the hotel bed like she was afraid I'd evaporate. At 6 a.m., I drove to the bank with coffee I didn't taste. The manager stared at the HELOC file, then at me, then back at the file like the math didn't add up. He pointed to the electronic signature. This matches what we have on record. That's the problem, I said, because I didn't sign it. The manager's jaw tightened. He flagged the account, froze further draws, and gave me a case number. Then he said the sentence that made my skin prickle. If the loan is declared fraud, it can trigger immediate repayment. Immediate repayment, exactly why they'd moved Mila first. Distraction and leverage. I left the bank and drove straight to family court. I filed for emergency custody. I filed for an immediate return order. I filed a report that my daughter was being emotionally manipulated. I didn't know if any of it would stick, but paper trails mattered. People who love control fear paperwork more than yelling. By afternoon, I had a hearing scheduled within 72 hours. Not justice, but a foothold. Then I did the part that scared me most. I drove back to my parents' house. Not to argue, to listen. The front door was unlocked. Inside, the hallway smelled like cinnamon and fresh paint. Mila's room was half painted white. Her bed frame was in pieces. Her art was gone. Boxes were stacked neatly and labeled in black marker. Mila, donate. My knees went soft. From the living room, Cassie's voice floated out, bright and excited, like she was describing a vacation. Guys, I'm telling you, the lighting in here is perfect. I can finally film without chaos. My mom answered, proud. People will understand. We're doing what's best for everyone. My dad grunted. As long as she signs. Cassie laughed. She always signs. She'll come around. I stood there with my heart in my throat and realized the secret underneath all of it. They weren't scared of losing Mila. They were scared of losing access to me. I hit record on my phone and stepped into the living room. Cassie froze, phone still raised like she'd been mid-story. My mom's smile started and died. My dad's eyes narrowed. I held up the recording light. Say it again, I said quietly. About me signing. My mom stepped forward, hands out like she was calming a wild animal. Raina, stop. You're making a scene. No, I said. You did. I'm documenting. My dad's voice got hard. Turn that off. I smiled once. It's not your house. Check the deed. That did it. A flicker of fear. Cassie's voice went high. Are you seriously going to ruin us over this? Over this. Over my child. I pointed at the hallway. You boxed my daughter like a donation pile. My mom's lips pressed tight. We're protecting her. From me, I said. The person who tucks her in every night. My mom's eyes flashed, and then she made a mistake. She whispered it, like she was talking to herself. Like she forgot I was standing there. He's not going to give her back unless we finish the paperwork. I went still. He, I said. What paperwork, Mom? Silence. Cassie's phone lowered. My dad looked away. And in that silence, I noticed something small and wrong, Cassie's second phone lying face down on my dresser in the hallway, like she'd left it there in a rush. I knew Cassie. She never left a phone behind unless she was hiding something. Subscribe so you don't miss part 4, because what I found on that phone proved they planned to use my signature long before they ever touched Mila. Cassie's second phone sat on my dresser like it was daring me. Face down, silent. The kind of silent that only happens when someone's been hiding things on purpose. I picked it up and felt that familiar tech worker instinct. Don't leave traces. Not because I wanted revenge content, because I wanted my daughter back. Cassie didn't use a complicated password. She used her birthday. She always did, because she believed nobody would ever cross her. The screen unlocked. The first thing I saw wasn't photos. It was a notes app titled Plan. My pulse thudded in my ears. The bullet points were short, casual, like a grocery list. Get R to sign consent. If she refuses, say Mila is better off. Make sure Mila confirms safe to police. Studio makeover starts immediately. My fingers went numb. I opened her camera roll next. There was a close-up photo of my signature, zoomed in and cropped like someone had hunted it down. It was taken from an HOA form I signed months ago, when my parents said, "Just sign this so the neighborhood won't bother us." I remembered Cassie standing behind me at the counter, filming herself while I scribbled my name without reading. Another photo. That same signature pasted onto a PDF. Another. A screenshot of an email thread with a loan officer. Subject: Re. HELOC needs signature confirmation. Cassie had been the one talking to the bank. Not my parents. Cassie. Then I found the group chat. Participants: Mom, Dad, Cassie, and a contact, saved as even wife. My mother wrote, "Make sure Mila says she feels safe. If she hesitates, remind her she gets a new room and no more lonely nights." Cassie replied, "Tell her Mom already chose work. Kids understand that." My dad wrote, "Once Raina signs, Evan gets her legally. Loan gets paid, house secured." My vision blurred. I took screenshots of everything, emailed them to myself, and deleted the sent copy off Cassie's phone like I'd done 1,000 times with sensitive work files. My hands were steady now, not because I wasn't terrified, because I'd crossed into a different mode. Protect. I walked out of my parents' house without a word. They were still in the living room, still talking like I wasn't real. I didn't correct them. I didn't warn them. Warnings only help people hide. In the car, I called a lawyer my coworker had used in a nasty divorce, Marisol Grant. Marisol listened without interrupting while I read her the chat messages word for word. When I finished, there was a quiet beat. Then she said, "Do not return to that house, and do not speak to your parents without me." "I need Mila back," I said, and my voice cracked anyway. "We're going to move fast," Marisol replied. "You have evidence of coercion, identity theft, and emotional manipulation of a minor. Tonight you write a statement. In the morning we request an emergency return order." That night in the hotel, I kept my voice calm for Mila. We ate microwave mac and cheese on the bed. She kept glancing at the door like she expected someone to burst in. When I asked what happened at the park, she shrugged too hard. "Grandma said I had to be brave," she whispered. "She said you didn't have room for me anymore." My throat closed. "Baby, listen to me," I said, slow and clear. "There will always be room for you with me. Always." She nodded, but her eyes didn't relax. Trust doesn't come back in one sentence. At 5:30 a.m., my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "You can fight this, but you'll lose. She needs stability. Stop being selfish." I didn't have to guess who wrote it. Evan's wife. I forwarded it to Marisol and turned my phone on silent. By noon, a judge signed an emergency order. Mila returned to my custody pending the hearing. Law enforcement authorized to assist. The paper shook in my hands. Marisol's voice on the phone was steady. "They're going to panic. Don't let panic buy your sympathy." We drove to Evan's house with an officer. Evan opened the door and went pale when he saw the order. His wife stepped forward, cross necklace gleaming like she thought it made her holy. "This is harassment," she snapped. "It's a court order," the officer said, flat. "Bring the child." Mila appeared in the hallway clutching that stuffed cat. She looked at the officer first, then at Evan's wife. Then she saw me. Her face crumpled, and she ran. She hit me like a wave, arms locking around my waist. "I'm sorry," she sobbed into my hoodie. "Grandma said you needed a break." I held her so tight my arms ached. "Grandma lied," I whispered. "You are not a break. You are my life." Evan cleared his throat like he wanted to be involved. "This isn't over." I looked at him and felt nothing but a clean, cold disgust. "No," I said. "Now it's official." His wife snapped. "Official what?" I pulled out my phone and showed her the group chat screenshot with her name on it. Her confidence cracked. "That's fake." "Great," I said. "Then you won't mind subpoenas." She went pale, and for the first time, Evan looked scared too. We walked out with Mila holding my hand so tight it hurt. In the car, she asked, "Are we going home now?" And I realized I couldn't answer, because home was the place where her room was painted white and labeled studio. Home was the place my mother made pancakes after stealing a child. I drove us back to the hotel and tucked Mila in, then sat in the dark, staring at the emergency order like it was a fragile thing. My family thought this was about custody, but I knew the truth now. This was about ownership of my child, my money, my name. Subscribe so you don't miss part 5, because the hearing isn't where this story ends. It's where I finally make them pay for the vote. Friday morning, the courthouse smelled like old carpet and cheap coffee. The kind of smell that makes you feel like every sad story in the building has soaked into the walls. Mila sat beside me on the hard bench, clutching a stress ball Marisol had given her. She didn't swing her legs like kids normally do. She sat still, shoulders up, eyes scanning the room like she was waiting for a trap. Across the aisle, my mother sat behind her attorney, with that practiced victim face, chin lifted, lips trembling just enough. My dad stared straight ahead, like he was waiting for someone else to fix what he helped break. Cassie wore a beige blazer and kept smoothing her hair, like this was a meeting with a brand sponsor. Evan sat with his wife. The gold cross necklace was back, bright under fluorescent lights. She looked at me like I was dirt on her shoe. The judge came in and everyone stood. I felt my hands go cold as we sat again. My mother's attorney went first. He called me overworked and emotionally volatile. He said my parents were concerned caregivers. He said Evan was seeking involvement. He never said the words forged signature. He never said HELOC. He never said kidnapping. He tried to make it sound like my daughter had just relocated. Then Marisol stood. Marisol didn't raise her voice. She didn't play to the room. She spoke like she was laying down tiles one after another until the floor under my parents cracked. First, she played Mila's voicemail. My daughter's whisper filled the courtroom. "Grandma says you lost the vote." I watched my mother's face tighten, not with sadness, with irritation, like the child had spoken out of turn. Marisol submitted the screenshots of the group chat. She submitted the HELOC documents. She submitted the bank's fraud flag. She submitted the text from the unknown number telling me to stop being selfish. Then she did something I didn't expect. She asked to call Mila's school counselor, a woman I'd only met twice, sitting beside Mila during a tough week earlier this year. The counselor testified calmly that Mila had arrived at school distraught, saying her grandmother told her, "Mom is tired of being your mom." That one sentence made my stomach twist again, even hearing it in a courtroom voice. My mother's attorney objected. The judge overruled. Then the judge turned and looked directly at my mother. "Mrs. Tran," she said crisp, "did you tell this child her mother did not want her?" My mother's eyes filled instantly. A perfect performance. "Never," she whispered. The judge didn't blink. "Then why do I have messages from you instructing others to tell the child, quote, 'Mom already chose work'?" My mother's face went white. My dad finally turned toward her like he'd just realized whose plan he'd been following. Cassie's hands started shaking. Not with remorse, with fear. The judge leaned forward. This court is not a family group chat. You do not get to vote custody into existence. I exhaled, and I didn't realize until that moment how long I'd been holding my breath. The ruling came down fast. Emergency custody stayed with me. My parents were barred from contact without supervision and further review. Evan could request supervised visitation only after parenting classes and an evaluation. The fraud allegations were referred for investigation. When the judge said referred, my mother flinched like she'd been slapped. Outside the courtroom, my mom stepped toward me like she expected me to comfort her. "You're tearing this family apart," she said, voice trembling. Mila tightened her grip on my hand. I looked at my mother and felt something clean settle in my chest, an ending. "No," I said quietly. "You did. I'm just refusing to glue it back together." That afternoon, Marisol filed eviction notices. Yes, my name was on the deed. Yes, the HELOC made it messier. But the house was still legally mine, and my parents' family decision had burned any right they thought they had to stay. They didn't leave politely. My dad left 12 voicemails in one night, swinging between rage and pleading. My mom left crying messages about how she only wanted the best. Cassie posted a vague video about toxic people and boundaries, like she hadn't stolen a child's bedroom. A month later, the house was empty. No more syrup smell. No more ring light box by the pantry. Just quiet. I switched to a calmer tech role, less money, more life. I rented the house out and moved Mila and me into a smaller place that didn't carry my parents' fingerprints on every doorknob. The first night there, Mila slept with her drawing taped above the bed, 2 stick figures holding hands, a giant lock on the door. Safe. Slowly, she came back. She laughed again without checking my face first. She stopped flinching when my phone buzzed. She started asking for normal things, sleepovers, library trips, glitter pens. And here's the twist I didn't see coming. Evan's parents, Lorraine and Paul, reached out through Marisol, not through Evan. They asked permission. They offered supervised visits in public places. They never once blamed me in front of Mila. They didn't excuse their son. They didn't pretend the vote was okay. They just respected the boundary, and honestly, that felt rarer than love. We meet them for ice cream twice a month now. Mila talks about school. They listen. No pressure, no manipulation, no paperwork slipped across a counter. Now I'm asking you, because I still replay that voicemail sometimes and feel my throat close. If your own parents voted your child away and used your identity to keep a house, would you ever forgive them? Or is protecting your kid the line that ends everything? If you made it this far, drop your answer in the comments, share this story with someone who needs it, and subscribe because the hardest part of family isn't loving them. It's knowing when to walk away.